Hello and welcome to Ops Up Inside Your Head, the conversation for ops leaders who want to make their operations truly amazing. We meet brilliant ops leaders who've been there, done that, built the habit. Today, we're joined by the brilliant Josh Davies. He's the head of operations at Chirpy Heat, and he is a seasoned ops professional. Welcome, Josh. How are you doing?
Thank you. Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Cool. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation today. I wanted to talk to you because I love your energy and I love just how you think about operations and how the world ticks. So let's kick off. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you ended up what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I'm Josh Davies. I'm head of operations at Chirpy Heat. How did I end up where I am now? I have no idea. To be honest, I have done an array of jobs. I'm a qualified plasterer. I've done carpet fitting. I've done concrete in Australia, labouring, cold calling. I've done a season abroad in Napa, PRing, Amazon delivery driving, and it just kind of bobbing around and doing these jobs. And then I kind of found myself in the energy sector. So I got a job at Eon Energy as a customer services advisor, and then I kind of grew there, and that's where the passion for energy came. And then I joined One Manchester, it's a social housing provider. So then that was my kind of introduction to social housing. And then I was headhunted by Chirpy Heat, who are a heat network, communal and district heating consultancy. So I joined them as a consultant, senior consultant, and then head of operations, which I think has now been about 18 months in this role. So still, quite new to operations, but it's happened all rapidly. That Amazon to head of ops all happened within about 3 years. Wow, so it's quite a quick transition.
That is a quick transition as well. And there's quite a lot of changes that you've probably had to do in terms of your approach to whatever's in front of you in a day of work. So yeah, what does being an ops leader mean to you then?
I think so. I heard someone say once that, like, when you're in an operational role, like, how do you describe it to people? And I think the best thing that I heard was that you're like the nervous system of the business. I think that's like the best take of it that I've had. You've kind of got the directors and the founders. They're the kind of brains of the operation, and you're the one that's trying to keep everything ticking, keep everything moving, and make sure that it's done so in the best way possible. So yeah, that's how I take it.
Yeah, I like that analogy as well. Yeah, because you get to see everything that's going on in the business.
Yeah,
but you have to translate it back up to the top into what's actually going on, so something they can understand. But also, when they send signals back down, you're like, okay, we need to be more efficient.
Yeah,
what does that mean? Like that filter. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So I think that takes a lot of energy to actually do that work. So let's talk a bit about you before we get into the business of business. Sure. What do you do to, like, sort of kick your day off? How do you make sure that you start your day off with, like, in whatever style you want?
So I'm a list person. So my wife, Grace, always says you are just walking and doing jobs all the time. And then if you're not doing jobs, you're thinking about jobs. So typically when I get up in the morning, it's straight into jobs. It's, it's putting a wash on, emptying the dishwasher, taking the bins out, tick, 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 tick. Do a little bit of Duolingo because I'm learning Portuguese and I've been for a few years. Just like little things like that. So something's like life admin, emails. And I'm like, okay, now I've done those jobs. Let's start the paid job. And that kind of gives me a bit of time to kind of wake up, come to and get into things. And then I just kind of hit the ground running. Then when I start work, I hyper focus. So I'm ready then to focus on it.
Nice. Okay. And bit of a tangent. How's your Duolingo? Are you on a streak at the moment?
I am. I think it's about 540 odd days. I got it up to about 600, 700 once, and then I was on holiday and I forgot to do it, and I lost my streak. And it was like a serious loss. It was a real blow. But yeah, I've been doing it since about 2018. But because it's on the app, I'm good at reading and writing it, but speaking it I struggle with a little bit. Yeah, it's going good.
Nice. I love that streak. I understand your pain. I was trying to be in the 10,000 steps club. Yeah. And I think over about a 3-year period, I got to about 300 a couple of times and just like missed it by 10. I care, but I don't care anymore about it. So I always try to get there. I understand your pain. Like, I got so close, and then you get distracted. But I love it. I love that commitment. That's a serious streak as well. You're like, just up to 500 days.
Yeah, it's usually done at about 11:50 at night before midnight and before I lose my streak, though. I usually forget, and then sometimes if I don't do it in the morning, I got to wait till the end of the night.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay. And so if it sounds like you get up, get into work, get going. So you've told us how you get to work. So what happens when you get into work? What do you do to make sure that you're laser focused on the things that you need to get done?
My Outlook calendar is a thing of beauty. It looks like a rainbow, a nirvana. Ask anybody else, they think it looks stressful and chaotic. But for me, that's how I deal with things. So each day, especially from a Friday to a Monday, when I've slept a couple of times in between, when I come in Monday, all my stuff's mapped out. And I have like an hour every Monday that's like think hour, first thing in the morning. So I don't have any meetings then. And it allows me to kind of get in and then think about what's coming and what I've got on and start to kind of prioritize. Although it's already prioritizing the calendar anyway. But to be completely transparent, sometimes I do book over that think hour when I'm being naughty.
Nice. Okay. And is that, where did that come from? What was it? What drove you to actually put that in place?
I am fast paced. I jump around a lot, and I'm big on detail. So I'm looking at nitty gritty things and moving things around, and you know, that shift from being like a worker bee and doing everything, and then having to think more strategically and let go of things. I found that I was still doing a lot of the day to day, because I am still, even though I'm in head of ops, I still do a lot of consultancy or securing kind of contracts and purchase orders and stuff. So I'm still doing a lot of salesy stuff as well and speaking events. So then sometimes I can lose sight of the strategic stuff because, you know, there's not really always a deadline on that, or it's not really something that you constantly have to be there to think, oh, you know, it's firefighting if you're dealing with tasks, but strategic stuff is more planning. So I had to start thinking, I'm not doing it. You know, I'm a couple months in, I've not really moved that along. I've not moved that along. So I had to start physically putting time in my calendar to be like, even if it's just an hour, just spend an hour on that. And I know when we spoke and we wanted to catch up initially at the start of all this, it was, when can I catch up? And I was like, 3 weeks, half an hour on this Wednesday, because, you know, it's mapped out that much. So yeah, I realized it was an issue and I'd start addressing it because things were sliding.
No, I like that. And I really respect that I have half an hour in 3 weeks' time, because I operate very similarly. I'm like, if it's important, it's in my calendar.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you have to schedule in that thinking time as well, because otherwise you just don't get those natural breaks, do you?
No, absolutely.
And like say as well, you occasionally overbook it, and that's fine, isn't it? Occasionally overbooking it, but it's when it's not there. And I've seen that happen a lot with newer ops leaders that have gone from worker bee to, you now need to be strategic, and they're like, how do I do it? You're like,
I usually book out my calendar like in my core hours, like 9 to 5. And anything before or after can be like overflow from my day to day. If anything kind of pops up, like it does, it's operations, stuff always pops up. So it gives me that little bit of flexibility either side core hours as well.
Nice. Okay. So if that thinking block is something that you've got in and you're working on, what's the next thing from this, like going into this strategic ops role, what's the next thing you're looking to bring in to help you with that?
So we've grown organically and we're growing quite rapidly now. So I think we've just taken on like 4 or 5 people in the last few months. And we're now like a team of 19, I think we're due to be on Monday. So we've gone from, when I joined, there was only, 2 members of staff. So it's scaled quite a lot in the last 3 years. The thing now is a lot of our stuff is, it's spreadsheets or it's in our heads and, it's not feasible or doable when we've got these kind of numbers. So for me, the thing that's in my head now is like automating that process. So I'm doing a lot around exploring tools that can do that. So resource management tools is the kind of key one for me. The project side of things, I think we're fine with at the moment because people can have their own. But that's the kind of key thing for me now is automation of our kind of operational process.
Nice. Okay, and that comes with its own challenges because you have to know what your process is to then put it into something, don't you?
Yeah.
How are you addressing that?
So what I've done initially, obviously we didn't have this in year 1, but in year 2 we started to figure out, well, we track all of our time online because we have hybrid and remote workers. So it's average project, how long does it take to complete that project, and then we had 20% contingency on it to add a bit of a buffer to make sure if anything takes longer, it's accounted for. So we've got a rough idea of how many days each project takes. So then we can look at our staff that we've got, see how many projects they've got, and roughly finger in the air know whether or not they're overworked or whether they've got any capacity. Although our staff are really good at saying I've got capacity and stepping forward and stuff. No one really shies away from anything, which is great. So it's putting that thinking. So we've got the data and the information about how long things take and who the people are. Now we just need that tool to drop it into. So that should be a seamless process. But at the minute, for me, it's like, look at this new widget and look at this and look at that. So I'm trying to find something that means the staff that we've got don't have to learn something new. It looks like something that we've already got. So it's not different widgets and windows. It looks similar to our current processes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Like using that familiarity to bring the team on the journey.
To get them on board, it's a lot easier because they're so busy that it's, if I like learn something new, they're like, what's the benefit?
Cool. So a bit of a question, if that's okay, about what you're doing, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to match up the processes that you've got, does that mean you're happy with the process? Are you digitalizing a process that is okay? Or is there actually a push where you go, do you know what, it's okay and we can digitalize this, but actually we could be better if we did the other one?
Yeah, I think it definitely is around improvement as well. It's not just digitalizing and automating it. With some of the stuff that I've been exploring, we've got things siloed in certain areas, only in terms of kind of how do we track the profitability of services and the financials. Like we've got that stuff in the relevant departments, but this is about bringing like a holistic approach. Some of the issues that we see when we're working with people is like a lack of cross-department communication potentially because organizations are too big and we don't know how it spans across the organization. So that's one thing that we've been very conscious of addressing to make sure that we compile things into one place so people have access to it and so that we can do more with the data and the information that we've got.
Nice. Cool. Brilliant. Okay. So one of the things you said about as well is that you still have worker bee mode.
Yeah.
What is the habit you think you actually need to start retiring? I
think for me, and it's directly linked to this, I'm getting better at it now, but because I came in and when I came in, I was the only consultant in the business. So I've kind of been influential in that growth and getting work done to a high standard that's expected and then quality checking it and moving on. There was like a period of time where I was like, well, these are my clients, hold on to them. And I was still managing staff. And at some point, something's got to give because you're only 50% supporting your staff or you're 50% supporting your projects. And, it's not feasible. It's not doable. So again, it's a bit of self-awareness about that. And the thing that I'm still working on is just being now, I get something and then handing that over. And you've got to trust that the staff that you employ, that you passed on the skills and the knowledge that they can pick that up and they can do that. And it will be quality checked and you don't need to worry about it so much. So the habit that I'm trying to get into the swing of is letting go.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a tough one, isn't it? Because the doing the things we love make us feel warm and fuzzy and like we've had a successful day.
Yeah.
But that's no longer our success, is it? As you go up, that success isn't a badge you need to wear anymore.
Yeah, and it's my comfort zone. I've come from a delivery background and doing and being involved in everything where, coming out of your comfort zone is where the best things happen. So now I'm trying to embrace that and immerse myself in that and being like, I don't want it. You can do it. You think about it. What do you think? What are your ideas? So yeah, and it's working well now. But still got space to grow there, definitely.
Yeah, always space to grow. It's always
absolutely.
Yeah, cool. All right. So if we take a step back and start thinking about teams you've come across, teams you've been in, what are some of the sort of the things you see in those high performing teams, those habits? What have you seen?
I think the thing that I so when I came in, I was fortunate that it was just me and make it my own and stuff like that. And the collaboration, like we said before, people talking across departments. We didn't have departments then; we just had people. But now, people are in departments and stuff. It's growing and it's exciting. The kind of pairing people up who are in similar situations. So when I was new and we got another member of staff, I passed on my experience and showed them one of my first reports that had red crosses all through it and it looks like it was terrible, just to kind of reassure people. And then you pass on that knowledge. And then as we've started to grow, it's grown in a really good way now that someone else comes in and then, I'm not their buddy then. The person that I was buddying becomes their buddy. And they're like, I was new, I went through this, and then they pass on that information. And then not only does it alleviate pressure from senior staff members, obviously still expected to do your line management, your project management and stuff like that, but it gives someone else an opportunity to grow and pass on their experience and help someone grow and get that kind of self-satisfaction from watching people succeed. But it's also like their experience of supervising potentially, maybe line management down the line, and then that next person, they pass that on. And it's that kind of best practice sharing and communicating across the business that I think grows well. And that forms part of your conversation then. If it's going well, great, you continue to grow them. If it's not, that might, people management and that support might not be the right thing for them, but then you just move them around to what best suits them and how you can get the most out of them productively.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's so much in what you just said there. There was a thread about trusting people and trusting quite early as well. Like if you're retraining someone, but the power that gives them, like, does it feel quite liberating watching sort of that responsibility go down as people come in?
Yeah, I mean, especially when we're still a small business, we feel massive now because there's so many people here now, and we have to get a bigger room when we do like an away day and we all bond and stuff. And it's like, oh, this is crazy to see all these people, but we are still small. So if someone's struggling or if someone's not got the support that they need, it's a fifth of the business, it's a tenth of the business, it's a third of the business, a half of the business, depending on your scale. So it's really important. And I think if you give people that trust early, like, show me what you know, show me what you don't know, and let's see then, because that helps you identify where they need growth, where they need support and stuff as well. So I think it helps them, but it also helps you as a manager to see where the gaps are and where they need steering and stuff, rather than just saying, this is what you need to do, you go and do that. I mean, sometimes that's needed, but it's like a two-way thing, and you're meant to be learning about them as much as them learning from you, I think.
Yeah, it's so powerful as well, because that's the indicator that you're a real life adult. You've come here. We want you to work, and we trust you to work. Here's what you need to know. Go. One of the things you also said as well was you give people quite early the opportunity to work with others and grow others, and you get to see who your managers are. But actually, the people that aren't managers but are still really technical, like I'm assuming that there's a technical competency that actually is really valuable to the business still. And you don't actually sometimes those people don't want to be a manager.
Yeah.
They're best not serving the business, managing people. They're best on site, doing the job on the phone.
Delivering. Some people just want to come in, do their job, deliver, do it, and then do well at that and grow within that. So and that's completely fine. Nice.
Cool. So what is your plan to support both those paths in the business?
So there is a little bit of like structure that we put on it as well, so you can kind of monitor that growth. Like, how do you monitor whether someone's doing well or not doing well, without kind of tangible results? I think because we've got like a lot of off-the-shelf services in the like earlier days, and from then we've kind of said, these are our services, and this changes over time as we grow as well. But there's a lot of pressure points because there's not many staff, so we need GPs, we need people that know a little bit of everything. So you can kind of monitor that and say, can you do this service end to end? You can give it a bit of a RAG rating. No, I can't do this. Yeah, I can do this a bit. And yes, I can do that. But then when you have your one-to-ones and you catch up, so you can see how their kind of RAG rating is changed in terms of their knowledge of different services when they think they can do it. And it alleviates those pressure points. The kind of shift that we're seeing now is that because we've got departments, we don't need people to know a little bit of everything. You can be specialized in some fields now, so we can still track that and monitor that, and then break down those services. So it's not just, can you do this? It's, this is the service, this is every step of the service, and are you involved in each part of it? So you kind of dig a little bit deeper, and I think you need that for different parts of our business, because it's consultancy, so it's problem solving, it's a bit easier. But when you're an engineer and you're out on site, it's not as easy as saying, well, yeah, I can do that, so I can do it for all of them, because some schemes and district and communal heating schemes, they can be quite complex that we work with. So just because you can do it for one doesn't mean you can do it for all of them, because there's not one size fits all. So it's that kind of approach as to what parts of that service you feel comfortable with, and then we track that. Nice.
It sounds like you're investing the time in those regular where you're saying you're getting people to rate their knowledge. How often are you doing that?
At one point when we were growing, I was the line manager for like 8 people. So I was doing that. Again, we had to shift it. We're doing monthly one-to-ones. Then we got too many staff, and I went to quarterly one-to-ones that were more structured in terms of like delivery and what are your objectives and how we're working towards them. And then we did annual reviews. But now, because we've grown, I still line manage directly 2 people in a department, but then I oversee our other 2 departments, and there's a senior person in those ones. So they've taken on that line management responsibility. And with that, we've been able to go back to our kind of original structure in theory, where we do a monthly one-to-one. So we can go back to that now. And then 6 monthly, we do like a part year review, and then we do the monthlies again to the annual review, making sure that people are in line with their objectives, because we've got more capacity to do that now. But with us being remote, we do catch up more often than that. Like departments have a meeting once a week. Once a month, we have like a business-wide meeting. We have these review meetings, one-to-ones that are specific for individuals and stuff. So, yeah, there's various touch points to make sure people aren't isolated while working remotely.
Yeah, no, just hearing lots of we trust people, but communication is key to that trust. Is that you know what's going on because you're talking to them in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like the people you hire are a key part of how your business is growing. What sort of people are you looking for?
So our industry is a limited talent pool. So when we need to find like a heat network consultant, for example, there aren't many people, or they've not got much experience. So a lot of our early hires were done based solely on, attitude, drive, because we can teach you housing and heat networks, but we potentially can't teach you some of these core characteristics within your personality. So it was solely based on that. But on our kind of structure now that we've got, there's more people coming into the market. There's more people in that talent pool. So we use different recruitment strategies. So we look at graduate schemes, see like what universities are in the area. We do have an office that's in like Nottinghamshire. So we like look at graduates in specific roles. If it's data, we look for like data science graduates around September time. We did like a career day at Sheffield Hallam University, where we were allowed to go in and showcase our business and get people interested into heat networks from day one, because there's not enough people coming out of university into these roles. So we're trying to find that and open that door as well. It's
really interesting. And I'm slightly not shocked isn't the word, but like intrigued by that we aren't producing enough people for the industry. It's just, I'm sure energy is a premium, right? And actually how you manage it is really important, and it's only getting more expensive. So it's what do you think almost not completely off topic, what do you think we need to be doing to get those people like ready for you?
Yeah, I think because like heat network specific, obviously the energy sector is massive and there's loads of people in that industry, but heat networks only make up about 2 to 3% of all UK heat demand. So it's only a small part of what we do, but the government's pledged to increase that to 20% over the coming years in line with net zero targets. So I think that we need to be educating people more on this, which is starting to happen naturally because Ofgem are stepping in from gas and electric to take over the heat sector. But we need to be promoting people in kind of job roles in the early stages to get people in from the start, to build that from the bottom up.
Nice. Okay. Cool. So I've got a great idea of like what you're doing, how your teams are running. You've been there like watching this business. You've grown this business. You've been like employee number 4, or like 3 or 4 that you say, because there's a couple of founders.
Yeah, number 2. Yeah,
number 2. From the business level, what are you like as a business? What do you think? You're like that big picture. What are you doing to be so successful?
I think really a lot of it, not to take away our drive and who we are as individuals, but like a lot of it was timing as well. Social housing, there are specific kind of client base, and we have our 3 founders and our senior leadership team all come from social housing backgrounds, managing heat networks, and we've come from that sector because our 3 founders realised that actually there's not much support there for social housing. There are consultants that can support with this kind of thing, but they don't understand the red tape and the nuances and the kind of complications with social housing. So we've kind of come from that. And a lot of our growth has been organic through word of mouth. We don't have a marketing team. We don't have like a business development person. In theory, we do a little bit because all of us are expected to do that in terms of consultants. We go out and speak to people and we speak at events and stuff, but a lot of it has been through organic growth and stuff. And the period where we're in now, regulations come in where it's been a little bit broad brush up until now. There's not many regulations for the heat sector, but Ofgem are going to bring all this structure. So people are hearing about it and people are knowing about it now. So it's more kind of mainstream. And it's actually even in the media now, which it wasn't 5-10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And I have a past in social housing as well, so I know a bit about the sort of the people, and like there are lots of genuine people that care about the industry they work in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think if that's part of your talent pool, great, because you're finding people that actually why they're working and why it's important. With the business, with the growth and like Ofgem incoming, what do you think you're going to have to like think about how you operate differently at all in terms of fulfilling that obligation to Ofgem, but also retaining your sort of your character and what's got you so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's like the regulations and things that pop up along the way. Like that's key as to what drives us. Regulation is pretty much our steering at the moment for the entire business, because there's so much of it coming and we'll have to adapt quickly. But we've got a lot of people that have got can-do attitudes and want to research and think of ways to promote it, because we're a lot of like-minded people that have got that drive, have got that success, and feel appreciated. And like we said before about the trust, if you feel trusted and you can see that you're actually having an impact on the business, and that it's not just this is how we do it, pass the message down, it's this is what we're thinking, what do you think? People are more invested in it and treat it more like it's their own business. I know it's not, but that's how people think. Like, I can do this, I can bring that. So, yeah, I think the challenges are welcomed.
Yeah. You said it. I want a job. I like the more you talk about it. Really, it's
like you've got a social housing background, so you're halfway there.
Yeah. So a question? What challenges do you think 25 is going to bring for you? What's going to be the thing you've got to think about?
I think because of the position we're in with the size of the business, I think automation in our processes are going to be, for me specifically, are going to be crucial. We're going to have to make sure that we can do things quicker in terms of monitoring, making sure that we're identifying if people are overworked. We can move things around quite in a fluid manner. But as a business as a whole, I think it's probably that getting the people in at the right time to accommodate our growth and still deliver. Because what we don't want to do is say yes to all these pieces of work, and then our reputation is damaged, because our reputation is the reason where we are. So it's setting realistic expectations in terms of timescales and when we can turn things around, which I feel like we've been really good with. It's always hard to turn work down and not had to do it much, but it's managing that growth to make sure that we don't tipple ourselves over.
No, that's important as well, isn't it? Is the knowing that if you overserve a couple more people, you might not serve another 10 that you were serving before, and that's no better, is it?
Yeah, exactly. You want to keep that client retention and those good relationships that we've got with people, so we don't want to kind of tarnish any of that.
Awesome. Okay, cool. We're flying through this conversation. We're almost at the end, believe it or not. So I've got some quick fire questions for you, if that's all right, just to get your initial thoughts, and then a couple more other questions to finish, and we're done, and we can go on our way. So this is a bit more about you and like things that go on in the world. So quick fire, you're dealing with a difficult stakeholder customer. What's your go-to habit to resolve it?
Okay, this takes me back to my Eon customer services days. I think first of all, it's listening, but not just listening. It's listening and understanding. So paraphrasing to make sure that you show understanding. I'd say if you're in person, like body language and nods, that shows that you're engaged. But if it's like a phone call or something like that, it's verbal nods. It's like yeah, to show understanding, because you don't know why they're frustrated, and you need to maintain and identify what what's going on? Is it something to do with this? Is there something more to this? Is it something that's nothing to do with work at all? Because, you know, people have got personal things going on as well that can sometimes seep into their business life. So I think it's about, you know, maintaining professionalism, you know, being calm, easy tone, but trying to understand what their issues are, and then, you know, using that to problem solve. And, you know, it's not always a fixable thing, and that's fine. But at least you've tried your best to understand, and then feedback and communicate the things that are options that you can do, and, you know, go that extra mile as and when you can. But yeah, I think that's people listen and they're like, yeah. And then they're already trying to come in with a solution for it, but they've not actually took time to think, okay, right, yeah, you need to kind of step back and settle a bit to think about the options, I think, are the key things.
Nice. I like that. Cool. When you've got a tight deadline, how do you make sure you get over the line?
So if I've got a tight deadline, I've not done my job right at the start of it by mapping out deadlines and putting an earlier deadline and doing the resourcing. But, you know, these things do happen. I think tight deadline. I think it would depend on the cause of it. So, for example, we request a lot of information from our clients and a lot of data, and they're non-profit organisations. You know, they don't always have the resource to do these things. It's a small part of what they do on the day-to-day. So if we've got a tight deadline because we've not received what we want, we will have said at the start expectations in terms of handing over information. And we do let that slide a little bit because we appreciate that it can take a bit longer to get. But if there's a tight deadline because we've not received something, you know, it's a nudge. And then usually if we've not got the information by this date, as we explained, you know, we'll have to issue the report or complete the service based on what's available, and we can tweak it afterwards. But we just need to draw a line in this, because if you can't find it, you might never find it. So that's something that we need to address. I think if the deadline is on us internally, something's gone wrong, someone's off sick or something, which, you know, was a big thing for us back in the day, because that's like a quarter of the business gone if someone's sick. So that did happen. We've got flexible working contracts, and basically we should have done these steps in terms of mapping out time and stuff anyway. And if it's not, and someone's got to pick something up, it's about sometimes just getting it over the line. You know, might be working a longer day, knowing that when you've got to the deadline, you can take a shorter day and take that time back in flexi. You know, it's work-life balance. So whilst it's finishing early and spending some lovely time with your friends and family and going away, it's also making sure on that Wednesday night that you've got that stuff over the line. I think the key thing there, though, is if that's consistently happening, that's not a deadline problem. That's a capacity, potential overworking, which are the things that we want to address as well. Which is, you know, I've had to address that for myself as well.
Yeah, I still love the first bit of your answer when you went, well, I wouldn't let that happen because I've planned it.
It does, though, right? It does happen, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your pragmatism there. I think that's a real operator's answer. It's like, right, let's be pragmatic about this.
Good, at least I know I'm in the right job then, eh?
Yeah. Cool. You've hit a major milestone in business. How do you celebrate?
Ooh, okay. So we've got a couple of little things. It's like we've got like Slack. I've got it open at the side here. We've got Slack, and we've got like a business development thing. And it started in our earlier days where, you know, it wasn't many staff, and we got a big project, and it was like someone put a picture of like a bottle of wine, like, oh, I'm going to need this big project on, just like a bit of a joke. And now that's kind of carried on. So like when there's like a key milestone and someone's got some work in, we're not promoting alcoholism, by the way. It's not always alcohol. It can sometimes be water or a juice. We just put like a little picture of us, like we're holding a little drink, like a coffee, like taking a break, got a piece of work in. So like that's how we celebrate that. And we also introduce, if it's a new client, you've got to wear fancy dress in your picture as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, it cost me a fortune on fancy dress. But yeah, just like a bit of lighthearted stuff. We do also, like, that's kind of more frequent stuff as we're getting work in. We do kind of recognition Fridays is something I started doing, and our senior staff have started doing. So we recognise people that have done big stuff that week or that have supported us individually. And then on an annual basis, we have incentives in terms of like company bonuses. Yeah. So at the end of it, you can be like, you know, here's a reward for your good work in terms of all the things you've done. You know, it's like a financial gain as well, not just a pat on the back.
No, I love it. I love all of those. They're great. 2 more questions. What book
Sure.
should I be reading?
What? Sorry.
What book or podcast or audiobook should I be reading, listening to?
Oh, with a business hat on.
Any hat. What?
Okay. So I use reading as an escape, really. So I read a lot of crime fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm reading I think it's about 15 of them now, 16 books, like D.I. Helen Grace crime fiction books, and they're easy reads, lovable main character, really good stuff. So that's how I kind of switch off. In terms of with a business hat on, something that because I don't read many things for kind of self-learning, which I should probably do more of. But I did read The Chimp Paradox.
Okay.
Which is about kind of mind management. So like the frontal lobe of your brain is the chimp, it acts emotionally, and then the human is the logistical bit at the end. And it's the fact that if someone speaks to you, it goes to the chimp first, and then it goes back to the human. It's like, how do you manage your chimp? So it's like a metaphor really for mind management. And that helped me a lot in my earlier days reading that book. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then I had to start consciously thinking like that to make sure that I'm acting appropriately in all situations. And now it's just kind of become a bit of a second nature. But that was a good book, I thought, that helped me anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm going to add that to my Christmas book, my list of Christmas books. So when someone says, Mike, what do you want for Christmas? I go, here's a list of things I've been recommended. Or when I need it, I go there. So that's on my list. So I know about it, just never read it. So I'll dig into that. And your last one, what's your go-to habit to get home on time, shut the laptop, spend time with the family?
Okay. So this is something that I did maybe a couple of months ago. So I think it goes back to that I was saying, core hours are always filled, and then if there's time before and after it for overflow to help other people or help myself do things that I couldn't do, I've got that. I found that I was consistently working flat out longer hours, and I was never taking that other side of the flexibility, the work-life balance. It was tilted a little bit. And that wasn't because I was overworked, it's because I was overworking myself, which I think are two very different things. And if I want to take a Friday afternoon off or do something with the family or log off, I could never do that because, as you know, my calendar is booked up 3-4 weeks in advance. Yeah. So, where does that give? And I kind of sat down one day and planned for the rest of the calendar year. Half days here, Wednesday afternoon, Friday afternoon, maybe like a Friday morning. And I mapped out this time for the full calendar year to make sure that if I am booking things in 3-4 weeks in advance, that time's already there and I'm conscious of it. And, I might not take it. I might work over it sometimes because I might need to do some stuff, but at least it's there then. And I can actually take the time. So I had to forward plan when I might be able to have some time back. And I was worried about it at the start because I was like, well, if I'm so busy in 5 days, if I take a Friday afternoon off, then I have to do that work back. But what I actually found was when I took that time off, I was like, oh, there's a little bit of an afternoon coming up that I can take off. I got so much from that afternoon, even just being able to sit, to read, the PlayStation a little bit. That's a bit of my kill time as well. Spend time with friends and family. And I felt like I came back on Monday not burnt out. And I was far more productive in the 4.5 days than I was maxed out on 5. So planning that time out was essential for me personally. And I promote it to the gang as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important and underrated. And one of the things I always promote when I'm leading teams is book holiday even if you don't need it.
Yeah,
because absolutely. When you get to the end of the year, this exact reason, when you get to the end of the year and you haven't used it and you're burnt out, just because it's got called holiday doesn't mean you need to go somewhere. It's just stop working, go read your book, go play your PlayStation. And sort of melts people's minds, but it's so important. Just stop working.
Yeah, we have to send reminders like midway through the year to book your leave if you've not booked it, because otherwise everyone wants it off then at the same time because they're like, I need to use it.
Yeah, and from the ops seat, that's no good to the business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's it. Do you have any final words of wisdom to share with anyone who's aspiring to come up through into the ops world or in it right now and just like, I just need a bit of a...
That makes it sound like I know what I'm doing fully, doesn't it?
You've convinced me so far. So.
From there, yeah. No, I think the key things for me, I know it's a little bit different because I'm not fully operational yet. I'm doing a split of multiple things, but mapping out that time, that downtime to think. One, that think hour or that think session to like just have a minute before you're kind of putting out all these fires across the business. Just have a little think about what you need to do that week. I think that's been important for me. And also the other side of that is take that downtime in terms of non-working time. You need a certain set of characteristics and personality traits to be in operations, I feel. So, like, there's nothing in terms of, do this and do that, because you'll probably already have those things anyway if you're the right person in the right role. So I think it's just making sure that, taking the downtime to think and taking the downtime to relax.
Nice. I love it. Cool. Thank you very much, Josh. Josh, I just want to, you are genuinely a great leader. I talk to lots of people. I talk to lots of people, and how you see teams and people and growth and everything that you're doing. There are lots of books written about it, and you're really good. I just want to catch that and just reflect about it. You're really good at what you do, and you have some really great visions of what you're doing. And just do more of it. Be confident in what you're doing, because you're absolutely doing some amazing work.
Thank you. I don't take compliments very well, to be honest, so I do feel slightly awkward.
So apologies.
No,
but
it's fine. Yeah, it's really
nice. What I want you to know, because I want you to hear it, because especially if people want to find you and check out your long history in operations, what's the best way for them to find you, Josh?
I'd probably say my LinkedIn. I'm fairly active on my LinkedIn. Definitely the best way to reach out to me.
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
So thank you, Josh, so much. And if you've watched this and you've enjoyed this conversation at home, there are more of these recordings on my YouTube channel. There is my newsletter as well, and you can find me on LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much for joining the conversation, and we will see you very soon. Thank you very much, Josh.